Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
I want to get your guys' thoughts actually on this. Kerri, I'll start with you, and then Laurie, I'll ask you the same question. Is, how do we evolve our staffing, for the customer?
Well, it's interesting as you were talking. I was thinking about relationship selling, and how I think that is where we need to evolve. Right? Is in the past we've thought about how do we reach as many customers as possible, or get as many leads as possible, or how do we close as many sales? But the long-term view is how do we build relationship, and how do we close that trust gap that has always existed between consumers and dealers. And I think about a story, I interviewed Ali Rita, the #1 salesperson in the world, months ago. And you learn so much from somebody like that has sold 1,500 cars in a year by themselves without taking one lead, without taking one up, right? He has no interest in that because he's really thinking about the long game. He's involved in all of the associations and charities. He's so immersed in his community. And even when he brought somebody on as his second salesperson who's working underneath him, he picked his pool guy who happened to be immersed in the Spanish Hispanic community. He didn't pick the pool guy because he was a superstar, because he had 20 years of experience in auto. In fact, he actually went the opposite way. He chose someone who wasn't. He could train, and he can mold, and he could teach. And he chose someone who was immersed in his community from a people standpoint. And this guy, in his first couple months, is selling 40 cars a month, right? And so I think the lesson here is, you're right. We've always focused on those superstars, and we've promoted them even, right, because they sold the most cars. When the fact is, leadership isn't, I'm a leader and I'm a vice president, and it's not because I can do what the people that work for me can do. I can lead them. I can guide them in strategy. I can remove hurdles. But the people that work for me are tactically better in certain aspects. And auto, we've never thought about it like that. We've picked people who were superstar salespeople and then made them the leaders, and they're really immature from a leadership standpoint. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but I think we got to go back to relationship, and we have to redefine what is a leader. A leader isn't somebody who can do the job themselves at the best level, but they can certainly lead, remove hurdles, and strategize.
No, I think you hit it really well. I mean, we're having to evolve our staff. Everything in our dealership is evolving. Our leadership's evolving. Our marketing's evolving. Our management's evolving. Our staff. I mean, look, dealerships had 30, 40, 50 people to choose from, and they furloughed or laid off so many, and they kept this percentage. And when you ask them why, either knowingly or unknowingly, there was a reason why. And those are the ones that connected with the customers. And that is what really, I think, drove them to succeed in the previous couple of months. But, Laurie, I'd love to get kind of your thoughts on how do we continue to evolve our mindset around staffing at our dealership?
So this one's one that's really close to my heart. We have got to hire for attributes, not for successes that people say that they had, or skills that they cannot even prove that they own. Like you say, CRM. Do you know how to run a CRM? Everybody says yes. And I say, so I started this about 10 years ago, maybe 12 now. This was actually 12 years ago. Guys, you'll get a kick out of this. So when they come in for the interview, I've already asked them to email me something else. I wanted to see what it looks like. I have them sit down at a computer. And this is for any role, manager roles, anything. They say that they can do something. I'm like, fantastic. Here's a customer profile. Please just pop this into the system. It won't mess with our CRM. Just get this info popped into the system. After that, run out, snap a picture of the red Mustang on the corner of the used one. My niece wants to see it. Add some notes about that. And then what do you ask them to do is, oh, by the way, then we're going to go through a few mock-up phone calls. We're just going to talk about anything you want. You want to talk about orange ties? We'll talk about orange ties. And so then we go from there, and we find out how do they really act in the moment? Like, are they resistant and angry that you ask them to do something? Do they do it quickly, even if they did it wrong? Do they know how to do those things? So that's just one small little thumbnail of the kind of thing that we need to look at, because we'll say to a GM, I'd like to know what are the metrics for what a good GM looks like? Like, how do you know? Like, when you're a store and you got 15 that want to work at your store, if you're lucky, right? How do you know? And so this becomes where the person themselves is more important than almost anything, because if you're a good owner and you have a good ecosystem around them, you should be able to lift that leader to what they need, how they need to express that. Like Kerri was saying, she's a vice president. So she could go to another place. I am not saying that she should go, but she could go to another place and take her leadership attributes and her history and her performance and her coaching. She can take that there and she can learn what the role requires there and the nuances of that place and the idiosyncrasies. And Martha's the one that leaves the stuff in the fridge that's smelly. She'll learn that, but what she needs to do is be a great leader. And what we do instead is we promote people. You're talking about staffing here, Jason. We promote people into roles that they're ill-equipped for, and it's not their fault. But being ill-equipped, not knowing the skills is one thing. But when they're ill-equipped with the personal attributes and the professional attributes that we need, you're playing a game that you cannot win. And then you'll have people under them that cannot win, because these people are operating out of the wrong set of, they're using the wrong tools. They don't have the right reason that they're doing it. And you'll never quite be able to put your finger on it. But again, you'll always see that EKG. They have a good month and they're bathing in the glory. They have a bad month and they're blaming everybody else. So leadership starts at the top, but it starts with a plan to address it. And it starts with role reclarification, even how you write your ads. It goes through your entire hiring process. Do you onboard them or do you they show up? Every dealership I've been to has had people show up to work and nobody even knew why they didn't even know who they were or why they were there. And then it's the ongoing care to keep and maintain that internal customer, that employee, as not just a member of the place, but a thriving member who feels purposeful, who feels recognized, and who feels the shared commitment that everyone has to continuous improvement and the accountability that goes with that. So that's what I think about staffing.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy Mob podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to sign up to be a mobster at strategymob.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.